Welcome to the Reddit stories. r/Askreddit. What fetish is an ope for you? Scat. LMAO, please tell me someone remembers the story here on Reddit where the guy thought he wanted to get shit on, arranged all of it, and only realized as he was literally in the process of being shit on that he really didn't like the fetish like he thought he would. People are so gross, haha. When I was recovering from a self-inflicted injury, I briefly dated someone who told me that he has a suicide victim fetish and acted on it multiple times. By briefly dated, I mean it ended after he told me this. I was dating a girl who self-harmed. She asked me to cut her while going down on her. I declined, then held her as she cried. Was a weird night. I had an ex that was deeply religious. One time she mentioned blood play. I was hesitant, of course, but asked her to elaborate. She said it because Jesus is in the blood and it would bring us closer together under God or some such. The blood part was enough of a turn off without bringing God into the bedroom. I had a girl that liked to bite hard enough to draw blood and suck the blood like bite my shoulder. I was too much of a baby to let it happen much, and it isn't something I would seek out. It was hard to keep it up while that was going on, but yeah, kinda similar. When they ask you to cover yourself in dirt and wiggle around on the floor in your underwear. I don't know what it's called, but it's happened 3 separate times now, and I just don't get the appeal. 3 separate times, like 3 different people. That seems odd in and of itself, but the chances of you having 3 different people ask that seems wild. Are you in like an Earthworm Jim gaming group or something that could have gotten confused for their play group or some shit? I just don't understand, and I need answers here. I think was getting heavy with a pretty girl and she took her bra off. I'm thinking score, and I'm rock hard raring to go. She then proceeds to jam her finger in my belly button and twist it around. I tell her I'm gonna be honest with you, I haven't cleaned that out in a while. She says good, and sucks the lint and nasty belly button shit off her finger. My ock deflated faster than a tire hitting road spikes. My ex had a major navel fetish. Like it was just confusing, because pretty much everything else was normal sexually, except she basically needed me to finger her belly button to arrive. She also would get turned on by looking at other girls' navels. Like, keep in kind, she was straight as uck, except for a girl's belly/belly button. Like it was more normal. That's some of this shit on this thread, but it's also just a thing I wouldn't normally think about/remember. Anything to do with piss, shit, or blood. Big nope for me. College buddy of mine broke up with a girl cause she was into piss stuff, and he found it absolutely disgusting. With his next GF he's telling us about how she squirts a ton, and he finds that sexy. We were fighting over who got to break the news to him. IDK if this is some kind of fetish or not, but this guy I dated for a minute put me into all sorts of wrestling submission moves. When we finally did the dirty, I was fighting for my life. He was some high-ranked wrestler at some college or some shit. IDK. Total turn off in the bedroom. Wave those red flags, boy. Wave him high and proud. Did you feel as if it was non-consensual? Because that dude sounds dangerous and should probably be reported. I hope you are okay. I guess I'm pretty open-minded with fetishes. If it gets my partner off, I'm fair game. With the exception of crushing my testicles and fisting my a-hole. As a kid I was always very mature for my age, so my family had no issues with me watching horror. By about 12 years old I was watching Jason/Freddy/Michael type movies. The gorier the better, I always knew they were made up and loved them. In my late 20s watched a doc on fetishes. Men who paid sex workers to stomp on their sacks and heels and use cheese/vegetable graters on them. Obviously they didn't show the actual contact, that was off screen. Even still I couldn't make it more than 5 minutes in when the action started. Was nearly sick. I'd take being murdered with an axe to the head before letting someone pulverize my nuts. They're sensitive enough at the best of times. If you sort by controversial, there is an epic feet versus anti-feet war happening. As someone who has always been repulsed by feet and yet is in a consensual foot fetish relationship, I feel I can weigh in here. I grew up with a mother who, for reasons that are entirely not her own fault, has grievously foul-smelling feet. While I'm not entirely certain of the specific mental effects this had on me, I'm very acutely affected by the look of other people's feet as a general result. That being said, my soon-to-be husband has a foot fetish and I've grown more comfortable with him touching my feet / me touching his as time has gone on. I still don't fully understand his specific reasons for liking feet as he does. Though I do understand that my participation in such activities makes him happy, and so I'm willing to reciprocate. But only for him. Anything with feces, blood or urine, nope. Also I really just don't find the whole daddy dynamic appealing, each their own, as long as it's consensual, but that's a big no for me. I'll come forward and say that, as a guy, the daddy thing is a huge turn on for me, and it has nothing to do with incest. For me, it is about being a potential daddy, i.e., a breeding kink, and in general being a strong male figure that my partner is submissive to. It is not pretending to literally be her father, if that makes sense. Incest roleplay is turn off for me. Blood. I was today years old when I learned not everyone's okay with blood. I mean, I knew some people weren't into blood, but I just assumed everyone was kind of fine with it. Turns out, some people have an aversion to it or find it disgusting. Personally, I'd gladly do blood stuff. I'd wager it could be hot, but it's not a thing I'm specifically into or would ever seek out. This isn't a fetish so much as just a generic sexual act, but no anal. I'm a nurse and I've just seen too much happen to buttholes. Too much poop coming out of buttholes. Too many people with catastrophic gastrointestinal bleeding that literally bled liters upon liters of blood out of their buttholes. Too many torn buttholes. Too many things stuck in buttholes. Too many infections in buttholes. To me, attending to the butthole is my job. I cannot see the anus as sexual. My butthole is made to poop out of and that is it. I've seen ucked up penises and vaginas too, but far less of them, and usually the condition is less macabre, grim, and grisly. I'm not shaming those who have anal sex. Quite the opposite. I'm jealous of people that can have anal sex because they don't associate it with the morbid things I do. Being a nurse has made me scared of a-holes. Holding hands before marriage. I have a funny story about this. We were newly engaged and walking down the sidewalk, holding hands. My husband to be asked if I was in any debt, and I told him about my student loans and credit cards. He dropped my hand. Honestly, I thought it was over. But he stopped and said, "Damn, are we going to be broke for the first few years of our marriage?" Then took my hand again. We are on our 25th year of marriage, and out of debt finally. Anything that involves fists. I was eating out my girlfriend, and started fingering her while doing it. Just 2 fingers. Then she asked for 3. Eventually she grabbed my hand with both her hands, and pulled my entire hand in up to the wrist. My hand wasn't in a fist, more like fingers extended. When I realized what had happened, I was just thinking, holy shit, this is crazy. She eventually said, "Thanks, I've always wanted to try that." Married her. That never happened again though. There's no way to say this without sounding judgmental, but I swear it's not intended to be that way. I just don't get the furries. Like, I wish no furry any ill will, and I certainly don't want to kink shame or even just regular old shame anyone. Whatever gets you going gets you going. So long as it isn't hurting anyone, I have no problem with whatever consenting adults choose to do with one another. But of all the kinks in all the world, that is the one I just do not understand. Again, more power to you, if you're into that. But I will never be able to wrap my brain around it. Thank you.